Jiro here for Umbra Games with a review of Snipperclips Plus, a Nintendo Switch exclusive. Originally released in the eShop, digitally only, the game was so well received, a physical edition was produced months later. Snipperclips is a single-screen 2D puzzle kind of platforming game where you move your shape with a face character to match other shapes, cut material to specific shapes, or solve a variety of physics-based puzzles. The game's main campaign features two characters, and if you play by yourself, you'll switch back and forth between the two. I personally found playing cooperatively with the wife more manageable and enjoyable. Now, your shape has basic movements. You can run left or right, you can jump, you can duck, and you can stretch up on your toes. The first time you play the campaign, you're a square on one side and rounded on the other, and the shoulder buttons can be used to rotate your shape. When one player overlaps the other, the A button can be pressed to cut pieces off, making new shapes. You can hold the Y button to reconstruct yourself at any time. You'll start out by filling some dotted outlines where your combined shapes match the pattern. You'll then advance to some physics-based puzzles like putting a basketball through a hoop or pulling balloons out of the sky and popping them. Cutting grooves out of each other to hold balls or liquid is done frequently, as well as a hook shape to pull things down out of the sky. Now, the variety of objectives over the 5-world, 60-level campaign continues to vary pretty greatly, adding some mechanical objects, challenging you to form yourself into shapes to rotate gears, and even a game inside a game, building a path for a character to run and using an analog stick to move them in the world you've shaped. Some puzzles can take a few minutes to figure out what the objective is, as they only have the slightest on-screen hints on how to succeed. Nothing got overly frustrating or required internet lookup to figure out as far as objectives, but some of the interactions with the environment were a little bit loose in execution at times. For example, the first time encountering gears got a bit aggravating, forcing you to spin them in a direction that was kind of counterintuitive, in a difficult way, instead of a ramping up to the new mechanic. But there was a definite feeling of satisfaction when that puzzle was solved. Sometimes we did find ourselves getting sort of stuck in the environment too, trying to jump and not be able to, most often when a movable object was colliding with a platform or something, and your shape's feet just kinda didn't seem to know which object they were actually on. Once the campaign has been completed, you can replay it with characters of new random shapes, changing some of your go-to strategies just a bit. When you complete the stages the first time, it gives you a purple checkmark, and when you complete a world, it gives you a purple star. Completing it again with the random shapes gives you multicolored checkmarks and multicolored stars. There are two other multiplayer modes, the first being Party Mode, where you can attempt harder versions of stages you've already completed. There are 4 characters on screen, and if you play 2-player, you'll each control 2 shapes using the X button to switch between them. You can take this mode up to 4 players though, with each character controlling a shape. I had 27 of the puzzles opened, but with the new icons on all levels on the second page, I'm assuming that the back 15 are open through completing the main game. Now, these are more intense, they're not just more players on the screen doing the same thing, as each shape has a job to do, requiring 4 or more separate actions in a close time frame to complete the objective. There's also a versus mode with 6 different little mini-games. These include playing basketball against each other, air hockey with free movement, and a dojo where you just try to snip each other out of existence. In most of these games, the core game rules still apply, so you're balancing completing objectives with cutting your opponent into useless shapes to buy you some time. Finally, there's a free stamp mode where you can dip yourself in color and paint on a canvas with multiple colors. You can't save your art, but you can take a switch picture. I think 2 sentences is probably enough about that. Overall, the uniqueness of gameplay, the fairly smooth learning curve, leaves new players to jump in fairly easily. There's enough challenge to feel accomplished when stages are beaten, but never enough to get frustrated. The campaign objectives are constantly changing to keep gameplay fresh, with quite a bit of content overall more so cooperatively than versus, but controls can be a bit sticky with jumps and a couple environmental interactions that feel just a little loose. Rated as a 2D puzzle action game, Snipperclips Plus hits a 79 out of 100 on a true 1 to 100 scale, with 50 being an average game. This is Jiro for Umbra Games. Thanks for watching. The Switch catalog is starting to grow a little bit, and I'm trying my best to keep up with it. Subscribe to the channel for more video notifications, or feel free to follow me on Twitter @Umbra Games.